What is high finance exactly, and does your job satisfy this definition? First, what does high finance mean? It refers to high-paying and prestigious industries in finance, such as hedge funds, investment banking, sales and trading, and private equity. Venture capital can be lucrative and take smart people. The industry has smart people, I should say, but is more crowded with less prestige, you could say, in the traditional sense of the word. As you work with people with potentially not much experience doing startups, as opposed to working with established executive teams of well-known corporations with proven track records. Similar to how to being in banking in a retail branch for Wells Fargo is not as prestigious as being the relationship manager to Stripe or Square, as my direct manager and mentor was in San Francisco at one of my internships in SF. One is certainly more prestigious than the other, given the clientele you're working with. Wealth management is like the adopted child of an investment bank. You're in the prestigious institution in a front office role, working with high net worth clients. But as Charlie Munger once described it, it's basically like a sales job, and it's filled with what in money and finance consider like almost scammers. Not, well, this is a large exaggeration, not scammers really, but it does involve cold calling, in which sometimes you might be cold calling tech CEOs of startups as well. Whereas a salesperson in sales and trading, that's literally called sales position, but in reality, they have a lot of responsibility. They need to have strong technical knowledge of financial products and start building relationships with traders and portfolio managers of reputable hedge funds and asset managers from an early age. Wealth management is sort of borderline, but that's why sales and trading desk is actually considered high finance. In wealth management, it can take a long time for you to get your own clients. And a lot of times you're just pitching people to manage their money and take a fee, right? Like high net worth individuals, but then you end up just putting them in a diversified portfolio that gets like around market rate, maybe a little less and slightly less volatility, right? As I mentioned, an employee in a retail bank of a Chase Bank is not prestigious, and neither is a job doing operations, compliance, or any back office role, even within an investment bank. If you're doing FP&A in Nike or restaurant brands or Disney, this is not a bad job and it can be respectable, but it would be a medium start to career and not considered high finance because you're not actually working in the financial industry at all. You're working a finance job within another industry like apparel or food or entertainment. Now, an FP&A role in like MasterCard or in fintech can be a great career too. But again, this does not fit the definition of high finance. And it may be comparable if it's probably only really comparable if you're in like a corporate development or M&A role after like a banking stint, as these companies rarely will put you in charge of running the merger analyses of a company that will acquire unless you already have that pedigree, given the impact that your work will have. So people will often transition from these roles, from a high finance role like banking, to this corp dev role within a company, a strategic, in order to get less hours, especially when considering these positions often pay better on a per hour basis. Or maybe there's potential for equity or easier ladder to climb if you're growing a tech startup, for example. So some people may have other interpretations, but the general understanding is that unless you work as like an investment banker, S&T on the trading floor, equity research at a bank or an asset manager, or at a hedge fund or private equity firm, or a private credit now too recently, your job wouldn't really classify as high finance. So I'll check out my video as well on I'm going to be making soon on acronyms in high finance. So that would go high finance is one term that has a specific meaning within the industry, but there's a lot of acronyms within high finance that I'll go into in a later video. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like, always appreciated. And if you have any thoughts for video ideas, or if you just want to hate on me in the comments, feel free. It helps the algorithm as well. Voice your opinions. Okay, have a good one.